Hello, this is Eric. I'm here with Steven. I'm here with Lloyd, and I'm here with my babe Tiffany. And today we're going to talk about our plays of the month for the month of April. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's start with Tiffany. Babe, what was your best play of the month of April?
Oh, this was hard because I played a lot of really good games this month. Thankfully, it was a good month for gaming. But at the end of the day, I picked the worker placement that got to the table the most. And for me, that was Asking for Trobils. So Asking for Trobils is a worker placement game, as I said, where it's a spinoff of a episode of Star Trek. And it's super cute how they do a lot of homages to different space things, pop culture references, sort of thing. But you are helping this planet rid the planet of Trobils. You are collecting them and then hopefully releasing them into the sun so that you can score some extra cash. But it's super simple. It's really easy. It's user friendly. It's good for new players. So I thought it was a great game.
It is so. It is so orange. Ooh,
it's very orange.
It's an echo there. Cool. I backed this way back when, the original time that it was on Kickstarter. And my group likes this game because it's a high player count. I think the base game goes like 7 players, right? Yeah, and it's fast, right? Just on your turn, you choose to do one thing, right? So there's not a whole lot of AP there, right? And you have plenty of time to think about it. And Agreed. It's not like other worker placement games where you can have a plan and somebody blocks you. And then you're like, okay, well, I'll go to my plan B. And then somebody blocks you before it gets to you, et cetera. Because this one, you can just bump somebody. And bumping is a cool strategy in this game, too.
Super friendly, for sure.
Yeah. Not only is it friendly, but it's a different way of playing worker placement because you have to think, where can I go so that I will get bumped? Because you essentially waste a turn pulling back your ships. So you always want to position yourself to get bumped. And so, some people don't like bumping in worker placement because it's not as cutthroat. But yeah, it's fine. It's not as cutthroat, but it's got its own strategic layer there to do it well.
I agree. I think that there's a fine line when you try to min-max that, because you could very well just try to guess where people are going, and then you end up not having a bunch. Like, now what do I do with all this stuff that I got that didn't really add up to much? So, but I agree, it's definitely there, especially if you're like, well, I'm going to need some space slugs in a couple of turns, and I think she's going there next anyway. And yeah, it really meshes well like that. You get basically free turns out of it. Yeah. The very first time we played, I think that was very indicative of that play. We played with 6, which was awesome. The game was really cool, but there were like 2 of us that really didn't get bumped that much. So they were just behind, because that's extra turns. You're pulling something back instead of putting it out there.
And people will hate on you. They'll see that you don't have any ships left, and they'll be like, I want to go to that space, but I'll bump Steve and give him a ship back, whereas he's going to have to pull back on his turn if I don't bump him. I'll just go do something else. I'll get to that later, like, ah!
Yeah, absolutely. Right, babe?
Not in my games, but that's okay.
Are you too friendly? Is that what you're saying?
I'm friendly with everybody.
She's very friendly. She doesn't go out of her way. She's not going to go to the spot you're in just to bump you, but, she's friendly. She's a Care Bear with very nasty thoughts.
That's true.
Yes. All right, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just pick up from where we left off there, because I agree with Babe. We played a ton of good games since we filmed last. It was really, really hard decision. I think Babe chose a really good one. We had a lot of fun with that. I'm going to go with Ark Nova. I just played this just a couple of days ago for the first time, and it was really engrossing to me. It's a game that is compared a lot to Terraforming Mars. And I can kind of see how they're distant cousins. And I think that's where the comparison comes from, because it's really hard to compare it to anything else as a game. So a lot of you have a big old deck of cards, and you have a little bit of a tableau going on. You got a little bit of engine building going on. So it has a lot of that kind of feel to it, but it's a distinct game. I had a lot of fun playing it. It's kind of involved. There's a lot going on there. But, it's published by Capstone Games. And if you know Capstone, you pretty much expect it to be a pretty thick game. So, sometimes it's good to know these things walking into things, But it was kind of a surprise. I didn't plan on playing it. I just played it, and I had a really great time.
So real talk, how long did your first play take you?
Okay, so it was recommended to us that we play with 3. Supposedly, you don't want to play with 4 your first time through with all new players. I think realistically, we played in 3 hours, and we were all 3 new players.
Including the teach?
No, I'm saying we played
okay.
in 3 hours. Probably 3.5, maybe a shade higher if you had the teach in there. But the game itself wasn't that long. I think 3 hours is justified for a game that really draws you in and you have a lot of fun with. So,
Sure.
And that's our style. We like the long, the thick.
If that same group were to play again, though, were you 2.5 or what?
I think it's entirely possible, yes, because we definitely moved slow at the beginning and really picked up a lot as the game went on. So yeah, I think it would probably pick up. If the same group played it a lot, it would speed up. I don't think it's going to speed up dramatically to the point where you're like 3 or 4 people playing an hour. I think that's unrealistic. But what are you going to do?
I've been shying away from the game based on the playtime. I just kind of was like, well, I think I'll set this one aside. I'll do this at a con. When I've got several days dedicated to nothing but gaming, I'll try this one out. But that's why I was querying about the playing time because I'm really interested about the game. But it's tough for me to get something like that to the table.
Sure.
Yeah, I understand. But if you have a chance, it was really fun. So I know Babe's going to love it. I can't wait to get it. I'm sure we're going to play it many times. So what about you, Lloyd? What was your best play of the month?
My best play was the best of the worst. I played a lot of games, and I was let down by pretty much all of them. So we've already talked about Dark Tower. I was unimpressed with that, and I finally got some of my other stuff to the table that I always bring because I've never played it. And I guess kind of the best of the worst. The one that I actually enjoyed for what it was Raccoon Tycoon. I know this is a little bit older, but I guess the person just got like the big deluxe one with the giant, the one you unboxed, right?
Yeah.
We didn't play with the expansion. We just played with the normal thing. I went into it like I'm going to hate this game. It's got an auction in it. It's is that like economic?
Yeah, it's an economic game, right? Because you're pushing the stock price of things up and then selling, and
yeah, it's a little bit like Stockpile, and I enjoy Stockpile just because it's quick. And luckily, this game was fairly quick. Like it doesn't stay around too long. It's fairly simple. Like I said, we didn't play with the expansion, so I don't know what that added to it. But basically, you're pushing stock prices up, buying buildings, selling stuff to buy trains and towns, right? And then at the end, you connect. You get points for having towns and trains. And the more trains you have of the same type, the more points they're worth. So yeah, it was okay. That's my recommendation. That's my review.
It sounds kind of like a train game, like where you're setting up routes between towns and things like that.
No, you're just buying a card with the train name on it, like Monopoly.
It's like you were buying stock in a railroad. And then you were sort of like buying sort of maybe the station in the town or something, and connecting the town. There's no map or anything like that. It's a commodity game. It's all about the
I thought maybe it was like some kind of animal 18XX game or something. I'm like,
no, you're just interesting. There's a market with I think there's like six or seven resources, I think it's something like that. And then there's a bunch of little tiles that have different buildings, and each building gives you some kind of little perk or lets you get bonus stuff or sell for a higher cost. Or in our case, there's one that you can drive the price up right before you sell something, which is completely broken. And there did not seem to be a counter for it in the game other than rush to the end of the game before that person could amass a giant fortune. But like I said, the auctioning was fairly straightforward. You just kind of keep bidding until people pass. You can kind of tell what people are going to go for, and there's lots of stuff you're not going to go for. If I don't have, one of the four, because each railroad I think has like 4 cards, right? If I remember correctly.
I think it varied. I think some had more and some had less.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
But whatever, you're collecting sets, and then those sets are worth more when you collect them. And if you have a town to pair them with, that gets you extra points. So you want at the end, you want an even amount of railroads and towns so that they can combine, like Voltron, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree with Lloyd that this was, I mean, it was a fine game, right? Like if somebody asked me to play it, somebody wanted to play it, sure, okay, I'll play that. But I would never suggest it. I would always suggest something else. You know, I had a copy that I got as a prize, and that's the one that I unboxed on the channel. You know, I got that off the prize table at the Dice Tower Retreat, and you know, we played it and it was fine, but I traded it away because, well, you know how it is with space on your shelf, right? I don't want okay games on my shelf. I want every game on my shelf when I walk by it to go, ooh, gosh, I would like to play that again. You know, and that's just not where I was with this one. So not bad, but yeah.
Yeah, it's fairly light. It's if someone wanted to play an auctioning game, that would be the only one I would suggest because I hate every other auction game I've ever
played. Raw.
For sale.
Raw's not terrible.
Awesome. Yes.
Raw's not bad. Okay.
For Sale is the best auction game ever. Case closed. I'm stopping the video.
Awesome.
Game over.
But it's light. It's quick. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's over and done with pretty quickly. So, you know, whatever. Best of the worst.
Well, Stephen, obviously that was not your play of the month, but what was?
So I'm sort of in the same boat with Lloyd. I played some games and they were all just sort of mediocre. I was trying to play some newer games rather than my trusted favorites. But I did play one of my trusted favorites, and that is my play of the month, which is Welcome to, which I can never really know the name of. Is it Welcome to My Neighborhood or Welcome to blank? Because you write in the name of your thing. You're like, what is the name of this game? I don't know.
It depends where you search.
Yeah. So this is kind of an old and a new for me, because in Welcome to, the way that it works is it's a flip and write. So you can have really as many players as you want can play simultaneously. And there are 3 sets of cards out on the table, and you flip those over, and then each of those, there's a combination of a number and a special action associated with that number. And you have to choose which of those 3 pairs you want to do on your turn. And so what do you do with that number? Well, you have a sheet of paper, and it's got 3 different rows of houses on it. And you're trying to fill those numbers into those houses in ways that score you points. And the trick is that the numbers have to be written in increasing order in each of the neighborhoods. So if you want to gamble and put sort of a higher number more to the left and gamble that you're going to get more of the higher ones, you might get lucky. There's ways to mitigate that with some of the special powers, like the BIS or whatever, that lets you write in other numbers. And there's different ways to score points. You can get pools, you can get parks. I talked about you can play with as many people as you want, but there are these plan goals. And these plan goals are sort of a race. There's 3 of them every time you play. They're random. There's always a race to sort of complete those first, because the first person to complete them gets more points than people who subsequently complete them. And once they're all 3 completed, the game is over. The game ends by somebody completing all 3, or somebody fills up all the neighborhoods with numbers. So that's,
or you can't,
or
everybody, or
3 strikes.
Or you get 3 strikes, right? Yeah,
right.
If you just can't do anything in a round, you can sort of take a strike, and if you get 3 strikes, the game's over too. Yeah, I forgot about that, because that would never happen to me. So I forgot about it. So anyway, that's basic Welcome to, but they have made lots of expansion maps for it. And what the maps do is they have a different theme to them, and they'll have different art. And then I mentioned there were the 3 different plans. Each one of these thematic maps comes with 3 different plans. So you choose one of those 3 randomly to be the plan 3 for the game. And then they have, at least the 2 that I played so far, have some different scoring rule. So for instance, I played the spring one, and the spring one, some of the houses have little Easter eggs drawn on them, and you capture those Easter eggs by writing the right number on top of them. So if you have a 9, you can use a 9 to circle one of the eggs. If you have an 8, you can circle 2 eggs in one house. Or if you have a 10, you can use the 0 to circle a couple of them, right? So it's just this extra incentive for you to put specific numbers in specific places to capture these eggs for a whole, just an extra way to score in the game. I didn't like that one that much. It seemed a little silly, but I did like the winter one. The winter one is you're stringing sets of Christmas lights in each neighborhood, and you get bonus points for having sequential numbers. So I talked about that the numbers have to be in increasing order along a neighborhood, but they don't have to be sequential. You could go 1, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. And then so on each street, so there, I had a 6, 7, 8, 9. If that's in a neighborhood, that's 4 together, right? And that's like 4 extra points at the end of the game. So in each one of the streets, you're trying to get these lights strung together. And then, there's some Plan 3 card that also sort of feeds off that, getting so many lights together to get that plan done. So I enjoyed that one. There was the extra challenge of trying to get things in order, which seemed a little more, flexible to me than, putting specific numbers on specific houses to get the eggs. So there's 4 more of these maps that I haven't played yet. There is the Halloween and summer and zombies and nuclear fallout. I think that's all of them. And so I want to get through all of those, and I will eventually. But just playing Welcome to is fun to me. Even the spring map, which I said I didn't like that much, I still enjoyed my play of because it was Welcome to. And the winter map was just an extra challenge that I actually enjoyed. So yeah, there you go. Welcome to, cheap game, simple game to teach, plays a lot of players. I highly recommend it.
Use as many people as you wanted to.
Yeah, and Babe and I play a ton of this, really. To be fair, we have all those fancy ones, but we just never really think about it. It's very rare, but we play the base game a ton. It's for sure my favorite roll and write, or whatever phrase you want to use.
Flip and write, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's clearly number one in my roll and write repertoire.
It's up there with, I like cartographers a lot too.
That's my number 2.
Yeah, those two are right there for me. Yeah. Although I have a new one coming. So eventually, it's promising. But I'll talk about that another day. But also, it's worth mentioning that this was when COVID, when the whole stay-at-home thing started with COVID. I still tried to continue the game night by playing on Zoom. Playing virtually with people. And this is one of those games that you can easily play virtually, right? I just had my laptop set up with a camera on the central plan cards, and I sent everybody a PDF of the board, right? And we just played, like 8 of us, play Welcome to. We also played cartographers. But, there's only so many games you can play easily over Zoom. But, yeah.
I just want to say, there's a lot of things about Welcome to that are cool. Like that you can do that kind of stuff, that you can play as many people on it as you like. But I just really like that game. I played it 2 people. It doesn't have to play 72 because you can. The game's fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to make a couple of honorable mentions real quick. I know
you always have to do this.
I know, because we had a really good month. I just want to say that it was very close between Ark Nova, Subterra, and Planet Unknown. We played some really good games this month, so it really came down to the wire between those 3 games. So shout out to Subterra and to Planet Unknown, which was really fun.
Yeah, Planet Unknown, asking for Trobils. Sounds like maybe some of the Kickstarter logjam shipping issues are starting to break, and you guys are actually getting
a little bit. And we're starting to get to the backlog a bit too, so that's kind of nice. Yes. Well, anyway, unless anybody else wants to interject, no. I am Eric. One of these is Steven. One of these is Lloyd, and my babe Tiffany is here with us, and we are Just Got Played. Oh man, I'm going to catch it for that. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.
Bye. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a comment or hit the like button. It really does help us out. If you have suggestions for future videos, let us know in the comments as well, and then subscribe to see what we come up with next.